All right, we're finally live. Man, this is my first live stream from Port Zero. Set up my OBS, and it was kind of fixated on the Port Zero um, banner pretty much for the last 10 minutes. So I've been like trying to Google like how do I get this thing to live stream? Um, So welcome. This is Port Zero Cyber Solutions. I'm Rick Kelly. I wanted to get on here and kind of do like I know I've been posting some videos. I just jumped up to I think 62 subscribers right now, which to me it seems like a ton. Really have to thank a shout out to Tyler Ramsby for that. Being on watching his setup the other night. We were all kind of doing a setup or he was doing a setup in his new office, and he was kind of doing like a test live stream for everybody. And I mentioned to him that he was my one of my inspirations for kind of starting a YouTube channel. I've been following him for a while. Um, so, and then he showed one of my videos on screen there, just kind of highlighting it. And I was super grateful for that and for Tyler to do that. And you know, he kind of challenged everybody, hey, jump in there, and everybody kind of, you know, give Rick some new subscribers. So anyway, once again, Rick Kelly. I'm the founder of Port Zero Cyber Solutions. I am a startup. I am in the middle of trying to start up this company, which is going to focus on right now two services, and that's going to be cyber awareness training, but with a little twist to it. And then the other is going to be helping organizations build a cyber incident response plan. Um, so I want to kind of give you a background about me and why I'm doing the videos that I'm doing. Um, you know, I'm not a. I know a lot of the videos come off kind of like threat actor-ish, but my whole intent behind them is I get a lot of questions, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit. Of people will say, "Hey, Rick, if I click on this or I open this attachment or whatnot, I understand bad things happen, but a lot of people they ask me like, really, kind of how's a sausage made?" And that's where I'm kind of going with this. So my intent for the videos are not to groom future threat actors or anything like that. It's um it's basically to show people like how the sausage is made. Like you go to click on that thing, and or, whether it be a link, an attachment, or I've got a video coming up. It's going to talk about. Um, so if you get those pop-ups saying, "Hey, you need to update your software, you need to update your computer now because it's like there's a new patch coming out, whatnot, and we need you to update this." So I'm gonna get ready to build a video on that of what it would look like. And one thing I like to do is kind of show side by side is the victim side and then also the threat actor side. So it kind of is going to answer those questions for people, like when they say, "Hey, Rick, what goes into this?" Like, if I click on this, I understand bad things happen, but um, what happens behind the scenes? Like, how do they create stuff like that? And so, without going into super, a lot of details, exactly how all the way down to the minutia of how threat actors do it, because I don't want to kind of get into, um, the nitty gritty, but I kind of want to show at least a little bit of how things are set up and then how things are deployed to people and to unsuspecting victims. So to me, like I said, I kind of get those questions sometimes on, hey, Rick, how does that even happen? So I kind of like to do like a little dive behind the scenes, kind of show people like this is kind of like what when you put the meat in the grinder, like this is what comes out, and this is how it affects you. And then also on the backside of that too, on these videos of which I've started to do, is kind of telling people like how they can mitigate some of these measures, how they can do mitigate some of these problems, whether you're working in a SOC or whatnot, or even if you're just the unsuspecting user, what to look out for. So, um, I started these videos, or they were kind of about a year ago. I started building like phishing awareness, or things to look at when before you click on something, because it's all about social engineering. I did one on social engineering, just some things to be able to kind of pick out. Um, and then I did another one on, I think it was like acceptable use policy. But those videos were made through PowerPoint, and I didn't know anything about how to even create these things. So, um, I've been slowly um, kind of teaching myself on how to do this stuff. Like like I said, I watch Tyler, I watch Jerry Ozier, Dr. Ozier. I watch him every morning. Simply Cyber, daily cyber threat brief. I love following that stuff. John Hammond, Network Chuck. I know Fleet has just jumped on. Fleet is posting the third. He's got his channel. He does his short takes every morning, and then his weekly Saturday coffee. So, but so enough about that real quick. Just kind of get to know me and a little bit about my background. I'll kind of start up front a little bit, and then I'll work back, and you'll kind of understand the method behind my madness here. So I got into cyber. I started my journey in cyber about 5 years ago. Um, and it was something, there was just a few pieces that kind of got me into it. And so I started my education in it. Um, Let me see, through Utica University, through the cybersecurity program. I knew I wanted to kind of get into that, so did my research, kind of figured out where I wanted to go to kind of educate myself on cyber. And while I was going through that program, a lot of the courses I took were in the offensive scheme of things. So, one of my capstone projects was going from recon all the way to root, be able to extract, do data exfiltration, and from the week one in the course all the way to week 8, and it was absolutely awesome, and that kind of really set the tone for me and where I wanted to go in my cyber journey. So while I was going through that, I was able to. Um, hey, Tyler. Hey, hopefully you can hear me well. I took um, your feedback from the other night, man, and I got myself a little microphone here, so hopefully it's coming across a little bit better. There we go. Um, Replying to Tyler real quick. Um, so I kind of got into that, and I found a niche. So this is all while I was still working full time as go into my career path, and how it all kind of is relevant. So during that time, I was coming up on the end of um, my I was working as a deputy sheriff at that time. About 7 years I was in that profession. Absolutely loved it. But for 6 of that 7, I was on the SWAT team, full time SWAT team. So it takes a lot out of your body to do that. But also at the same time too, I always loved understanding tactics. So kind of going way back, I started my career in the military. Um, I started in 1990 and went through 2010. I did a lot of various things. Half my career, it was in the infantry, but half my career was in reconnaissance, dismounted reconnaissance, airborne reconnaissance, stuff like that. Doing, it geared you up for, going behind, into infiltrating into, or doing a lot of planning and then infiltrating, into so-called enemy territory, and then gathering information So kind of like as I talk through this, you can kind of imagine from a threat actor standpoint, kind of going through like that cyber kill chain, and it was kind of the same way in my tactical piece throughout my career um, that I kind of employed into my cyber. So, but anyway, my background I had a military background, 20 years, um, infantry, reconnaissance, um, doing all the fun things, jumping out of planes, shooting guns, and all that stuff, and Tyler, and and doing all the cool stuff. So, but anyway, so after I did that for 20 years, I kind of get into doing contracting work overseas for a couple different companies. Um, doing counter first when I first got out, I was doing some leadership seminars. Then I kind of get into more tactical stuff of trying to help keep you know everybody alive on the battlefield. So I started working um, doing this working on as a contractor doing this platform called Tiger, which is tactical ground um, reconnaissance. It was a software development platform, basically a counterinsurgency type tool that I would be able to help field commanders help keep their soldiers alive on the battlefield. So it was almost like near real time information that they could share across the battlefield. So, and then after I got done doing that, I was a DPM or a deputy program manager for counter IED operations for special operations program over in Afghanistan, which was awesome. Absolutely loved it. And then came back home from that. I did that for about 5 years, and then came back home from that and joined the local sheriff's department because I wanted to continue to serve. Did that for, like I said, almost 7 years. Spent a couple of years as a road patrol deputy, and then and then uh, and then worked on the SWAT team for the rest of the time there. However, what really intrigued me about cyber is in 2014, my personal computer got hacked, or I got hit with ransomware. I didn't even know what that was really during that time. It was so funny. Um, I'm a huge New England sports team fan, and I was trying. It was during football season, and I was trying to stream the Patriots game, and so once again, just kind of being that unsuspecting person. Um, I started. I got on Google. I started looking for live streams, and next thing you know, I found this link, and I clicked on it, and I was able to kind of watch the game. But of course, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I watched the game, didn't think anything of it. And the next morning, I go to I see my screen almost like when your computer auto updates, it'll restart and everything else. So I go to get on, I log on to my computer, and next thing you know, like it looks fine, and I go to click on a couple folders, and nothing is opening, and all of a sudden I get this pop up, and it says you've got ransomware, the whole, the typical pop up, and it says you must pay. I think it was like 5 Bitcoin at the time, and I think in 2014, Bitcoin, and I didn't even know what Bitcoin was at the time. So, and I looked it up, and it was going for like $400 a coin. Imagine that today, right? So where it's going for like 118, $120,000. So back then it was going for like $400. So they wanted like, you know, on the ransom note, it gave me a Bitcoin address, said send 5 Bitcoin. I didn't even know the first thing about it. So I started Googling Bitcoin, and I'm like, oh my God, $400 times 5, that's $2,000 for me to be able to unlock my my files on my computer, right? And then here I am, thinking, um, uh, you know, am I even guaranteed to even get this stuff, right? So to get my files back. So basically, I just said, you know what, the heck with it. My computer, this hard drive just became a paperweight. So I pulled the hard drive out, um, smashed it to pieces, lost whatever I had on there. I didn't know anything, the first thing about it. So that was my first run-in with trying to understand what ransomware was and everything else. So, but fast forward, like I said, I was as my body was tearing up. over the years of beating down, and I was a breacher on the SWAT team, so beating, kicking in doors, and everything else, chasing bad guys throughout the county. Um, I was like, you know what? I need to get into something less kinetic, but yet I can still take a lot of my skill sets that I've learned over the years and applying to cybersecurity. I absolutely love it. So and that's when I started that journey through my education, got my BS in cybersecurity. Um, and while I was going through that, I was able to land a position at one of our state agencies as a SOC analyst. And I kind of got, that's where I got my hand-on experience as a SOC analyst. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. So the stuff that I learned, throughout my journey, through my educational journey, I was like, wow, okay, cool. I started to apply it in the SOC and actually started getting exposed to, the M365 environment, Azure, um, which is now what, Entra. So I got exposed to all that, you know, Microsoft Defender, all this stuff. So, and then we started collecting tickets, in the SOC and going through that whole stuff and, doing investigations through, all your ingested products. So that was awesome. It was really cool to understand on how that stuff works. And then or after I spent almost a year doing that, I got offered a position as a IT project manager. So that's within the same state agency. So I was able to kind of learn how, um, or we were actually doing an overhaul of the entire, uh, hardware and software for that state agency. So as a project manager for that, we did a complete overhaul with Cisco products, Cisco AMP, um, working, through working with the higher state department, Department of Admin, um, on trying to implement all this stuff, since that was basically the authority department to kind of like maintain a lot of that stuff, but a lot of the hardware stuff we were trying to do on site. And so I kind of got my hands dirty on that for a while. But then I got a huge opportunity. I kind of want to get out of the program management stuff because like I said, after my military, I got into a lot of project management overseas. So um, I kind of wanted to get away from that, and so I got this opportunity to work at our state law enforcement division as a cybersecurity advisor. That was a huge thing for me to tackle when I first came on, because basically, as a cybersecurity advisor, what I was doing is um, the SLED actually has a program called South Carolina Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity, and it was a one-to-one position. So there were 7 people on the team. My position was one of one. My job was to interface with almost 200. It was when I first got there, it was about 250 organizations that were part of that program. And that program, what it was designed to do is, um, it was a resource for all the critical infrastructure sectors within inside the state who didn't have the basically the financing and all that to be able to help protect themselves or have an outlet to be able to protect um, their environments. So basically, what my job was is to kind of get with those organizations that joined the program and kind of do a face to face, sit down with them, figure out what they have in their environment, and then what we can do as a program to be able to provide resources to them, whether we reach out to or we offer up through a grant program um, some proprietary resources or recommend some open source resources to be able to help harden their environment. So that was one aspect of it. Another aspect, I had to go out. I went out and I spoke at different conferences, whether it be for the education sector, the law enforcement, and the fusion intel. For all the organizations that participate in that. So basically, kind of doing some cyber awareness lectures or um, talking about some of the things that were actively going on. They were affecting different public sectors, like Salt Typhoon, Volt Typhoon, stuff like that. So, trying to understand what those threat actors are doing, and then go into these and kind of educate in these organizations. Another thing I did out there too is for those that are familiar with Red Canary in their Atomic Red team, um, would go out and um, sit down one on one with organizations and their security teams. And what we would do is um, have them kind of bring their incident response plans. Kind of, this is more that Atomic Red team and the readiness training is what we would do. Is it's more like a software driven tabletop. So if anybody's been done something like that before, where we would sit down with them and we would kind of work through their incident response plan based off of and their playbooks based off of different scenarios that we would provide them through Red Canary's readiness program or readiness training, and then in some instances would institute a little bit of technical pieces to it, some benign injects into their environment. And then also it was kind of cool too, because if we did something like that and that organization had like an SLA with third party providers, it would also be testing that as well. I remember we went to one organization and we were doing some benign injects um, along with integrated into the scenario we were building with them or going through with them. And it was funny because I think we ran a process um, which simulated like an LSAS dump, and they actually had a third party security provider. And it was funny because they never got word from them that something like that was happening. So you would think that there would be like a response, or we were anticipating a response from that third party provider, and that didn't happen. So it was great and kind of great to kind of flesh out um, that type of stuff too, where if there's an SLA and they have to, and that third party security provider, has like some type of response time built into their agreement, um, we can kind of highlight that, and then that'll be like an after action that company, along with the third party provider, can have during that time. So, but that organization, the mission on that is phenomenal. So the SE Kick, um, South Carolina Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity. So um, phenomenal mission. They provide a lot of great resources to um, organizations here in the state that are under resourced and or under resourced and under financed to be able to help protect their environment. So, um, but anyway, so I left there and now I'm trying to kind of do a startup, kind of by myself. Like I said, my two services that I want to do right off the bat are cyber awareness training, like showing kind of how the sausage is made, and then also helping organizations build incident response plans. So one of the things that for those organizations that are trying to get cyber insurance, cyber insurance companies, there's some stringent requirements that they request in order to be covered. So, just like if you want to be able to cover, or if you want to be able to drive your vehicle, and insure, you want to be able to insure your privately owned vehicle. One of the things the insurance company is going to want is make sure you have a driver's license, right? So that's one requirement. So for cyber insurance companies, if they want to be able to, if a company wants to be insured, one of the major things is they're going to want to see an incident response plan. What is that company putting into, or what do they have on paper that they're going to be able to implement in the event that they get hit with some type of cyber attack? Whether it be a ransomware, a phishing attack, DDoS, whatnot. They at least have something in place to where the cyber insurance company can kind of have that peace of mind, saying, okay, look, they're doing their due diligence, and they have these in place. These are the people. These are the points of contact. They have law enforcement on contact. They have a plan with their HR department. They have a plan with finance. They have a plan with this, that, and the other. So this is the type of hardware, software that they have in their environment. And then what are they doing to mitigate, to help protect their environment? So that's the stuff that I'm looking to help out organizations on. So, but in the meantime, I started this YouTube channel so that way, actually on top of that too, besides my um, Utica University bachelor's in cyber, right now I'm going through SANS Institute's their ethical hacking or pen testing and ethical hacking grad certificate program. So absolutely loving it. I've already completed my GCIH. I completed GPen. Right now I'm going through Google Cloud pen testing. So once again, Tyler, shout out to you. I'm in the middle of that now. I started that June 1st. Thank goodness, Tyler, he offered up his course, Intro to AWS Pen Testing. So that was a great segue for me to take into my GC Pen course. The Intro to AWS, Tyler Ramsby's course is phenomenal. It goes in detail. And so a lot of the stuff that I was able to do or that I completed in Tyler's course, Intro to AWS Pen Testing, I'm now doing in the Cloud Pen Testing course, and it's phenomenal. So that was a phenomenal segue, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect because I knew that certification was coming up next. So I'm like, so once Tyler released that, I immediately jumped on it. It took me about 4 days to complete, and then just in time for me to start GC Pen. So I'm absolutely loving that. So once it kind of, I know Tyler does a lot of that, cloud pen testing, network pen testing, web app pen testing, and all that. So one thing I'm finding is, it's one thing when I went through GPen doing enterprise pen testing, it's a lot of fun, a lot of straightforward stuff. But with cloud pen testing, it's almost like, network or enterprise pen testing is like all these organizations have big enterprises. However, a lot of that stuff is going to the cloud. So it's like almost like a new niche, I guess, per se, because so much stuff is going into the cloud. And I'm absolutely enjoying this. I'm trying to find AWS keys, just trying to do my, going through the whole cyber kill chain, going from reconnaissance to, delivery. And that's what I'm trying to do in the videos too, is showing how, you can do reconnaissance, you go into your delivery, go into exploitation, what you're going to exploit, go into post-exploitation. So I'm absolutely loving that right now. I just completed like all my labs in GC Pen. I'm building my index now, so in the middle of that. On top of that, being GC or GPen certified, I was able to get access to TryHackMe's PT1. So I'm looking to dive into that next, which I can't wait. I'm 90% through their training course, their TryHackMe's junior pen tester course, 90% through that. So I can't wait to jump on the PT1 certification. And I've already bought into Tyler's latest, the hands-on phishing. So I can't wait to dive into that as well. I'm trying not to put too much educational meat and potatoes per se on the proverbial plate all at once, because I've got to get through this GC Pen. And then once I complete GC Pen, my final course to be able to complete out and round out my grad certificate in pen testing and ethical hacking is web application pen testing, so the GWAP. So that there I know is going to be a beast. It's like, fish all the things. Hey Tyler, I should have actually wore your shirt. Your shirt just came in the mail yesterday. The fish um, Fish Smarter, I believe it is, with your logo. So when I get out to DEF CON, maybe I'll wear that for you. So I can't wait. Um, I'll definitely see you at the meetup on that with Jerry and the Simply Cyber community. So I can't wait for that. That's going to be phenomenal. Um, but yeah, so that's where I'm at in my education. But also at the same time too, I've got an entire VM environment that I set up here. Um, I've got a port 0 domain. So in all of the stuff here, still waiting for delivery. Nice. Um, so I built an entire, basically my own port 0 domain here. I've got, you see it in the videos and my entire VM environment. I've got a Windows 11 machine. I've got a domain. I've got a Windows Server 2022. I set up as my primary domain controller. I've also got obviously my Kali machine as my attacker machine. I've set up a Ubuntu server for my Waza or Waza, however you want to pronounce that, to be able to do my log collection and set up the Waza server for my XDR and stuff like that and SIM. So it's on the cheap. That way I don't have to download subscribe to like CrowdStrike or Trend Micro or something like that. So on top of the WISA, so that was one thing while I was working for the state, is trying to find stuff like I was telling you before, stuff that's open sourced to be able to help out organizations that are underfunded. So one of the cool things is one of the counties, an entire county, they're so under-resourced and underfunded here that I worked with one of their security manager per se for the county. He wasn't quite the CISO, but he was asking, he's like, "Hey Rick, what can I, we don't have a SIM, set up, and they should kind of go into also is they don't, there's a lot of stuff that their county administrators wouldn't allow them to do." He goes, "But we don't even have a SIM, so for me to be able to sort through things." So what I was able to do is, so what I did is in my own environment and here at home, I built, like I said, that Waza, that Ubuntu server hosting the Waza SIM. So I was able to get that up and running. I was able to ingest a lot of the stuff I was doing from my Kali machine over to my domain. So, and I was able to see exactly what was going on. So then I took that and I said, "You know what, brother?" I said, "I know you're a county entity, so why don't you take this and I'll kind of help walk you through it." And he did. He implemented Waza for that county, and he was loving it. So something that saved on money, and at the same time, it's external. They can reach into it. They can set their own stuff, and they can ingest all their devices or their log aggregate into that too. So, and then also Waza, I know John Hammond has done some deep dives into that as well. So it also does, threat intelligence now. So it's got its own threat intel. So shout out to open source tooling. So without that and community backing behind that, a lot of these organizations that are underfunded, under-resourced, they wouldn't be able to have access to stuff like this. So if you're out there contributing to open source stuff, hey, I applaud you. That's awesome stuff. So so I was able to kind of institute that on my own home network, and then kind of take that and walk him through some of the steps on how to implement it. So that was awesome, and it was also a learning for me. So like I said, I've only been at this, started my journey 5 years ago, like I said, into cyber. But I was able to take a lot of my background and now I'm, kind of focused on a lot of this stuff offensively that I want to be able to go. So if you get on my LinkedIn, you'll see I wrote a couple articles for those that kind of had similar backgrounds as me. whether if you had like it came from a kinetic background, whether it be like with me, going. I got a SWAT background. I also have reconnaissance background in the military. So I wrote a couple articles. One kind of doing like the parallel between like if you've got a reconnaissance background, tactical reconnaissance, and how the cyber kill chain works, and then even MITRE ATT&CK, going from reconnaissance all the way through impact, um, in how they kind of parallel, um, in how those professions parallel. So um, it's it was really fun to write that. So, and then also same thing when I was a breacher, um, you know, going through understanding, the in cyber, of course, we call them threat actors, but in the kinetic side of things, in the military, it was like the enemy. But in law enforcement, doing SWAT stuff, you're going after bad guys, what we call suspects or whatnot. And then you got to understand like different situations where if say a suspect decides they want to barricade themselves as a breacher, what I would have to do a lot of good reconnaissance. If we knew we were doing, um, say we were doing an arrest warrant on somebody, high risk arrest warrant, I would do drive-bys on the known location, in a unmarked vehicle, dressed down so that way I kind of blend in with the environment. I would take video um, in slow mo so that way when I left out of there I could do um, video slow mo playback so that way I can see the type of stuff that's out there around the target area, which is going to be whether or not there's fences, are there dogs, is there a large family, are there any barriers to the yard or to the house, are there bird bars on the doors, stuff like that. So you're doing your deep dive and reconnaissance, and then obviously your the suspect's background, so we do a deep dive in that. So a lot of that translates over to kind of going into pen testing and offensive operations. Starting before you can even put anything together, you've got to do a lot of deep diving. So that experience I had now going into doing reconnaissance um, on the open web, on the deep web, dark web, stuff like that, trying to figure out what's going on. Another person I really love watching too is Ryan Montgomery. So if you ever get an opportunity, Tyler's who's on my stream right now. Uh, Shout out once again to Tyler. He's a huge he's a person I follow pretty closely, and I love him showing all his techniques and everything. But coming up at DEF CON, Tyler is going to be doing kickoff a talk with Ryan Montgomery as well. Everything that Ryan's doing, he's a ethical hacker. He's out there helping law enforcement, helping put bad guys away through a lot of his reconnaissance that he does through OSINT and doing deep dives into the dark web. So once again, Ryan, thank you for everything you do. I started following you after I watched your segment on the Sean Ryan show. So if anybody hasn't watched that, please jump on there and watch Ryan doing wonderful things out there. Catching bad guys or helping catch bad guys. So, and he's always providing little tips, that and the other, so to be able to help keep yourself safe out there from different threats. So, absolutely love this. Doing all this and creating videos for you guys, and there's going to be a lot more coming out. Like I said, in between me trying to build products for the company, and then also at the same time, I'm the only person, I'm the sole employee for this company. I don't have any income on it yet, though, but I hopefully one day will. But the YouTube channel is to kind of help get. It's part of that cyber awareness, showing people how the sausage is made, what's going on behind the scenes, and what to look out for. So for those that are subscribed, hey, thanks a lot. I'm hoping to get more people out there that can subscribe to this. And And please, one thing I always say at the end of the videos, if you've got anything you want to see, any suggestions for any tools you want to see, or any type of TTPs, tactics, techniques, procedures that you want to see implemented, that maybe some threat actors, how it goes on behind the scenes. It's one thing to kind of learn and read about MITRE ATT&CK, and then read a lot of the headlines of what's going on, um, of what threat actors are doing out there, whether they're hitting critical infrastructure, or even just something recent, um, like, yeah, Tyler, thank you for jumping on. I really appreciate it, man. Um, and something as recent as the SharePoint of what just happened with Microsoft, and um, so and hopefully they get a patch for that here shortly. But anything you want to see, please, I would love to be able to just get on there, make 20 or 30-minute video, kind of attacking my network that I built here, the Port Zero network, and showing the side by sides of how stuff is made through the attacker machine, or even, and sometimes I have to create it. Like my last video, you probably saw, I had to create it on the victim machine itself, but behind the scenes, it kind of shows how it's created on the victim machine, but it would actually be done behind the scenes and then delivered, whether it be through USB drops, or phishing, or maybe some malicious links, maybe a watering hole attack. Maybe there's a blog somewhere that people like to go to, and then as a threat actor, you drop a link in there because it's a trusted blog, and somebody clicks on that, and then you can see what goes on behind the scenes of how it was built and then how it's deployed. So, but to me, I'm very curious about stuff like that, of how that stuff was made. Like, how did that even happen? So my goal is to educate people on, this is how it happened. This is how this stuff is made, and this is the end state. We can deploy it, and I'm going to show you like what's going to happen from the victim side. But I also wanted to show you what goes in, the work that goes in between, into the attacker side as well. So one thing I always say is, before you click on that, my biggest thing is I want people to be able to think just for a second, because part of that social engineering is getting people to act on their impulses, and then commit to something, and then boom, next thing you know, you're hit with, like I did in 2014, hit with ransomware on my personal computer. So, but understanding how it all is now, 11 years later, and how it works, I want to be able to educate people on that. So that's where Port Zero Cyber Solutions comes in. That's where I work from my home office, and absolutely love it. So once again, if you have stuff you want to be able to see, any content, if you want to share it, some ideas, if you want to get involved, please reach out to me. My email, rgkelly@portzerocyber.com. My website, you'll be able to see the kind of the stuff that I want to be able to implement at portzerocyber.com. And then obviously here on YouTube, come here and please subscribe. And I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit about who I am, a little bit about my background. I know I don't articulate it really well. This is raw, kind of like my videos. If you've seen, like, in my videos, I think I've only edited one. And that was because I was waiting on an Nmap, scan, and it took forever. So I was like, well, through the magic of video editing, I can get it to go quick, because I think it lasted like probably 5 minutes. So that was the only video, believe it or not, that I've edited so far, just because of time. I didn't want to sit there with like a big gap in time. So everything else is it's pretty raw, as you saw. Like, I'll sit there and I'll make spelling mistakes, and I'm wondering, why isn't this working? And then it takes me like 2 minutes to figure out, oh man, because I spelled, I wrote in there reverse TCP on the MSF console. I wanted to utilize that exploit, and next thing you know, like, why isn't this working? Oh, because I have two S's in reverse, dummy. So that's raw stuff, but that's real. So that's why I wanted to kind of show that. So, but once again, the title of this thing, Who Am I? I just wanted to kind of show everybody like, hey, this is Rick. Um, you know, this is where I come from. This is my background, and this is my intent. This is what I want to do. So, well, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll do some live streams here in the near future. And thanks again for watching, and I really appreciate it. Tyler, thank you for jumping on. Um, you know, Tyler's a huge. I'm a huge proponent of him. He's an inspiration for me to even start. Both him and Jerry Ogier. So thanks. Shout out to you two. Thank you for getting me into pushing out videos and now starting my own live stream. So that's it. That's for me. I'm Rick. That's who I am in a nutshell in my professional background, and you know that now I love New England sports teams. So go Red Sox, go Bruins. Bruins hockey, my favorite sport. So if you saw the victim on my machine from the last video, B Bruins, that's for Boston Bruins through my fictitious financial sector that I was attacking. So anyway, signing off. I appreciate it. And if you want more live streams in the future, let me know. Hit me up on YouTube. Hit me up, RG Kelly at portzerocyber.com. And once again, hey, stay secure and stay vigilant. Thanks for watching.